Hello and welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. How's it going, everybody? Well, you know how I like to get my videos started always with a moment of silence, followed by the serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers. Okay, let's get it. If you would, a moment of silence, please. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Alrighty, well, let's get started. Well, today I wanted to come to you to just talk about awareness in the facet of knowing how to maybe, a lot of people don't know that they're an addict, and a lot of people don't know that they're living with an addict. You know what I mean? So I know this through life experiences, in the fact that I myself didn't know that I was an addict when I was a child, and I didn't know I was an addict as an adult until I went to a couple of rehab centers, and then started understanding the whole concept of having a neurological brain disease, and because as addicts, that's what we have. It's a disease of the brain, and a disease of the brain in many different forms, but nonetheless, the disease of the brain. And if you don't know that that's what's wrong with you, then you will live your life continuously abusing your brain and your physical body, internally and externally, and emotionally. So a lot of people tend to die, if you will, in that sense, because they don't know that they have this disease, and they're putting a lot of stress on themselves, mentally and physically and internally. So so I just wanted to talk about that a little bit today, and kind of go over some some things of what to look for, and kind of compare those to other neurological brain diseases, and to kind of bring some understanding, I guess, maybe if just to kind of give people some sort of understanding of how this works. And I'm no doctor by far. I mean, I'm no psychologist, no doctor, but one thing that I do have is I have a PhD in drug use and addiction, and I've had that since I was in the first grade. So I think that may qualify me for knowing a little bit about having that disease, right? So and it's not a little quick background on myself. My first introduction to drugs and alcohol was I was in the first grade. I was in the first grade when I smoked my first joint. I was in the first grade or I was actually younger than the first grade when I had my first sip of alcohol. And I might have shared that story on one of my other videos. Yeah, so I've been involved in drugs and alcohol my whole life, and being involved in that, as far as being a victim of an alcoholic and a drug addict, and being the alcoholic and drug addict, it's easier to understand when you have an educated person like a doctor or a psychologist, counselors and that sort of thing, and rehab centers and that sort of stuff, when they're explaining these things that's happening to you, and you finally can put, you can finally connect the dots, and then you're sitting, everything kind of comes into one, it comes into perspective of why your life is where it's at and how it got there. And it's kind of it's a good thing in a sense to because now now you know why it is that you did this, why it is that you did that, and now you know how to probably maybe mentally prepare yourself, and now you know the do's and the don'ts, and it makes you aware of the red flags and how to set those healthy boundaries so that you don't wind up back in that in those dark areas of your life that you know that aren't very good, and they cause more and more problems. But nonetheless, that's I wrote down a few things on this whiteboard behind me just to kind of give you an idea of. I picked the symptoms of ADHD and the symptoms of an addict, and I wanted to go over those symptoms, and I researched these on the internet and picked them up, and then I kind of compared them to my life personally, and it made sense to me that's why I chose the ones that I wrote down, because I know that has happened to me, and if it has happened to me, then I know it's happened to other addicts and other people with a neurological brain disorder, right? So I'm going to go over those things, and we'll kind of elaborate a little bit on that, and come to some sort of conclusion on how things affected me in my journey, and what I'm doing to kind of coexist with the problem that I have, and where I want to go with my life, and what I'm doing to make that happen, so that I don't fall into a relapse or that sort of thing. But nonetheless, let's get started. I'm going to go over a few of these things here. Right here, I got down the ADHD column over here, and then the symptoms of drug addiction on this side. And we got okay, so it's the very first one I wrote down is the chemical imbalance of the brain, and next is the hyperactivity, difficulty concentrating, procrastinating, impulse thinking, emotional difficulties, having relationship problems, having academic problems, and being an adrenaline junkie. And on the other side, let me turn around here. On the other side, we got on the top it's a chronic relapsing brain disorder, which is what I wrote down. And next is a moody, isolation, avoids eye contact, being secretive, being hyperactive, unable to focus, having relationship changes with family and friends, eye or skin irritations, money problems, sleep management, hygiene problems and dressing different. I mean, having a speech problem also, maybe like being slurred or talking too slow, or maybe just talking really fast. And also physical appearance. And physical appearance is like, teeth are missing, or this person may lose substantial amount of weight in a short period of time. Eyes being sunken in, maybe having burn spots, maybe having, cutting themselves, or different things like that. And the thing is, with both of these things that I wrote down, the neurological brain disease up on top that I wrote down, it's funny because I did some research on this, and it's the neurological brain transmitters in the brain for these types of problems and these issues that people have, as far as they give you medication if you're ADD. Usually it's Ritalin. What Ritalin does, it calms people down, right? And most people, quote unquote, when you hear about ADD, they automatically think, there's the kid bouncing off the walls, right? Or that sort of thing. So in drug addiction, being an addict, you also do that. There's similarities in that thing. So that so it's something to look out for if in and your significant other, and your friends, and your family, and your kids. Look out for all those kind of things that, because you just never know. And one thing that I do know is that everything that stems off someone being irritated, agitated, or depressed, or isolated, or you find them doing all kinds of activities and then not even finishing them, but moving on to the next one. All of these things are related in a sense to an emotional state. And I want to say probably everybody who's ever been an addict didn't just wake up saying, hey, you know what, I think I'm going to be an addict. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And that's not the case. The case is that most people, there's always some emotional detachment that comes behind an addiction. There's always an emotional, either something emotional happened to you that you're trying to find something to cope with that emotion. So you're trying to find something to fill up a void or mask a feeling, stuff like that. For me personally, in all these things that I wrote down, it was as a kid when I was using, I didn't know that I was using it to, mask some sort of emotional state, but that's why I did it. And I know that now that I was doing it because I was trying to mask the feeling of the traumatic childhood experiences that I had. I went through some pretty ugly traumatic things, and for me, drinking that alcohol and smoking that weed was something that made me feel like I was in another world, like I was like nothing could bother me emotionally. You know what I mean? So it was that's why I did it. And as an adult, by the time I was an adult, I was used to doing it. So that I was an adult, and I was already an addict, and I didn't even know I was an addict. But I knew that I excessively did. When I drank, I excessively drank. I couldn't just go to the bar or go, to a family function and just drink one or two and be good. I had to keep on rocking and rolling until the store was closed, until we ran out of beer and we couldn't go out and find any more. Until I totally passed out, or until my significant other was pissed off already. So you just that's when you stop. But you don't give a f about anybody else's feelings but your own, and you just want to keep doing it, and you just can't stop. That's the weird part. But you don't find it at that particular moment in time. You don't find it kind of weird or strange that, hey, I can't stop this. What am I doing? I'm doing something here that's hurting me and physically, and it's not good for me, but I'm continuously doing it and I can't stop. You're not sitting there analyzing and dissecting your thoughts. You know what I mean? So it wasn't until years later that when I had to go to a treatment center, when I got incarcerated or stuff like that, is when things started clearing up for me. You know what I mean? That the smoke started clearing for me, if you will, and it cleared at little spots here and there. It didn't give me this totally clear vision of things until years later. So I'm fortunate that I'm sitting here talking to you today. I know that because there have been a lot of times of things that I did, and as many drugs and alcohol that I did that I should be dead, and luckily that some being, some higher power, some God, some whatever it is looking out for me, I guess, and so I'm able to share, my experiences and stuff like that with you here today. But yeah, so I do these videos like this just to bring awareness and just to maybe elaborate topics on my life. You know what I mean? I'll choose a topic, and then I'll kind of incorporate it into my addiction and how I dealt with things and how it affected me and that sort of stuff, so that perhaps it'll help somebody else. You know what I mean? Maybe that's something that you have gone through, or that sounds similar to you, and you can now find that first rung to the ladder to try to climb out of that dark hole. And and that's what it usually takes. It usually takes hearing somebody's story, because when you hear it from a doctor and you start analyzing them, you're like, dude, you don't know. You've never done a drug in your life, and you're going to tell me how to fix it? But hearing it from somebody who has done it, and who has been there, who has gone through those problems, who has been there in that dark hole and has gotten out, it's a little bit more, you can relate to that a little bit more than hearing some PhD talking to you in an office. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's I do that to do these things, and I try to share as much as I can as my due diligence to give away what has helped me along the way to get into this pretty positive and cool realm of sobriety and positivity. So, and we have a problem here today. You know what I mean? We in society that there is people dying every day of drug overdoses, and it seems like society's not really doing a whole lot to help that, because you see people out in the streets a lot more than you have in any part of life. As long as I've been alive, I've never seen homeless communities and drug addiction at this magnitude before. You know what I mean? And it's getting worse. It's getting worse, and it's getting more dangerous with the chemicals and these things that they're putting into the drugs now, because you can't just, smoke a joint like you used to, or do a line of coke or meth or whatever, because you don't know what people are putting in those things. And most of the time, when it's something bad, they're putting in that fentanyl, and it's killing people. Their fentanyl is bad. There's there's a lot of different types of fentanyl. That's the crazy thing, is that you don't know if they're putting fentanyl that they use for the medical field for humans, or if they're using fentanyl that they give to a horse. You know what I mean? Can you imagine? You get a little dosage of the fentanyl that they're giving to the animals, and they're giving it to you, and in a drug form, and that's why people are just knocking over, as soon as they ingest these drugs. And I've seen it firsthand. I mean, I've had people OD right in front of me, and I'm sitting there trying to revive somebody, and it's not a pretty sight, that's for sure. And I've known a lot of people, a lot of friends of mine who have OD'd on doing their usual dosage or whatever, and they just drop dead, and you can't bring them back, and that's a scary feeling, and it's not good to witness that stuff. But so yeah, just wanted to kind of bring these type of things up that I wrote down, so that you can because all these things that I wrote down can very easily be somebody who is addicted to drugs. And if you know somebody, or you care for somebody, or that is in it, that is if any of these things describe what that person does on a daily basis, then perhaps you may look into sitting down with somebody and having some sort of one-on-one intervention, because believe it or not, a lot of people who are addicted wish that they had that person, wish that they had that somebody pull them aside and say, hey, I notice this about you. Are you okay? Because I care about you. I don't want to see you, fuck up your life or end it without you knowing that, you're doing it. And, a lot of people just want somebody to hear them out. A lot of people, that's all they want is just to hear them express how they feel. You know, I know my daughter, you know, she has told me countless times, Dad, I just want somebody to hear me. I just want, you know, I don't want to just, you know, I sometimes just long for just that little bit of affirmation that somebody cares. And you know, when she tells me things like that, man, I have to reassure her that, hey, you know what, I'm here for you. You know, I'm here for you. I'll always be here for you. And anything that you got to talk to me about, or if you're feeling this kind of way, that kind of way, because I don't want her to go and feel the feelings that I did when I was a kid and that sort of thing, and then go resort to, you know, smoking up a bowl or some shit like that, you know, with some drugs that you don't know who put that together. And it could be one time, and next thing you know, she's gone. I don't want to go through that. So when she tells me things like that, those are the type of things that, you know, as an addict in a full-blown addiction, I might have said, oh, it'll be okay. You know, don't worry about it. You know, sleep on it, or you know, it's just something stupid, and not even hurt her out. But because I'm, you know, my mind's thinking differently, and it allows me to understand those are like that's a red flag right there, and you know, so yeah, it's just, you know, keep that kind of thing, those kind of things in mind about yourself, number one, and the people around you, because you know, you just never know. So yeah, you know, there was one thing that my dad, before he passed away, always told me. He told me this a lot of times. He goes, you have to take care of number one first before you can take care of anything else. And I always, you know, took that to heart. And he's right. You know, you have to be selfish a little bit, because if you don't take care of you first, how can you take care of anybody else? And in other words, it's almost like saying lead by example. So. You know, I hope that I've maybe encouraged somebody here today, and to get on that first rung of that ladder, to get out of that despair and that darkness, and that, you know, whatever it is that's bothering you, whether it's emotionally, whether it's the addiction, whatever it is. I hope that you're able to get on that first rung today and get out. I'd appreciate you. I appreciate you guys listening to me today. If you would, please hit the bell, hit the like button, hit the thumbs up, or subscribe to my channel. I could use all the help that I can get, and I got a few projects that I'm trying to launch off here in the near future. And the more subscribers and the more thumbs up I get, the easier it's going to be for me to launch that stuff off. And I think that you guys are going to be excited about it. I'm trying to put together a little video on and explain what's happening with it, and you know, it's like one of those premieres in a sense, you know what I mean? So it's a good thing. I think it's going to be positive. I think you guys are going to like it too, because it's a little it happens to be, it's going to be topics that are for everyday people, topics that people are struggling with, and related to recovery and addiction. And sometimes I might throw in something a little different, but for the most part, it's going to be that, but it's going to have a little comical twist to it. So I think that you guys will enjoy. But nonetheless, I appreciate you guys listening, and again, please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and I really appreciate that. So if nobody hasn't told you today that they care, that they love you, you know what? I care, I love you, and I care what happens to you guys. So I really hope to see you on this world, on this side of the positivity and recovery world. And so thank you for listening. So we'll see you next time till On the Smoke. Next time on When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug.